Hey there, coin enthusiasts and treasure hunters. Imagine this, you're digging through some old change to grab a vending machine snack, and boom, you stumble upon a nickel worth $5 million. Sounds like a dream, right? Well, buckle up, because today, we're diving into the fascinating story of the 1982 D Jefferson nickel. And yes, this humble 5-cent piece could very well make you a millionaire. Let's get into it. Okay, quick history lesson to set the stage. The Jefferson nickel has been jingling in our pockets since 1938. But the year 1982? That's where things get interesting. First off, the US Mint was making changes left and right to coin production. They were trying to cut costs, which meant altering the metal composition of pennies and streamlining the minting process. In the chaos, it seems one very special nickel slipped through the cracks. Enter the 1982 D Jefferson nickel. What makes this coin so special, you ask? It's all about the die. A rare error occurred during the minting process in Denver. That's what the D mint mark stands for. This coin was struck using an older die, creating a unique look. It's like finding a typo in an ancient book or a misprinted baseball card. Collectors go wild for this kind of stuff. Now, here's the kicker. Only one verified 1982 D nickel has sold for big bucks so far, but boy, did it sell. $5 million. Yep, one tiny nickel was worth more than a mansion. Can you imagine explaining that to your friends? Oh, this? Just a 5-cent piece I found in my couch cushions. No big deal. But let me share a quick personal story. A few months ago, I was helping my grandma clean out her attic. We stumbled on a dusty old jar filled with coins. My heart was racing. Could this be it? The legendary 1982 D nickel. Sadly, it wasn't. But I did find a couple of cool wheat pennies worth a few bucks, so it wasn't a total loss. And now every time I get change, I'm checking those nickels like a hawk. So how do you spot a 1982 D Jefferson nickel? First, check for the D mint mark on the right side of Monticello, Jefferson's iconic home. Then, look for signs of the older die error. The coin might have a slightly different strike or lettering style. And if you think you've got one, get it authenticated. Seriously, don't just take it to your local pawn shop, they might not know what they're looking at. Now, you're probably wondering, should I be checking every nickel I come across? Absolutely. Sure, it might feel a little obsessive at first, but think of it like a treasure hunt. And who doesn't love the idea of turning pocket change into life-changing money? Here's the thing. Even if you don't find the fabled 1982 D nickel, you'll still be building a habit that could lead to other valuable discoveries. There are tons of coins out there worth way more than their face value. It's like playing the lottery, but instead of spending money, you're just paying closer attention to what you already have. Alright, let's wrap this up. The 1982 D Jefferson nickel is proof that incredible treasures can be hiding in plain sight. So next time you're sorting through your change, don't just toss those nickels aside. Take a closer look. Who knows? You could be holding history in your hands. You're digging through your spare change for coffee money, and bam! You stumble across a nickel that could change your life. Nope, it's not a lottery ticket or a golden dollar. We're talking about the 1985 P Jefferson nickel, which might just be worth a jaw-dropping $4.5 million. That's right, a single coin could turn you into a millionaire. Let's dive in and see why this little 5-cent wonder is causing such a buzz. What makes this 1985 P Jefferson nickel so special? Well, it's all about rarity and condition. Back in 1985, the US Mint cranked out billions of nickels. Most of them were used, abused, and tossed into vending machines or piggy banks. But a tiny handful, and I mean tiny, came out with a perfect strike, meaning they have sharp details, no scratches, and a flawless finish. Combine that with the right mint mark and a little bit of history, and you've got yourself a unicorn in the world of coin collecting. Here's where it gets juicy. In 2023, a 1985 P Jefferson nickel sold for $4.5 million at auction. You heard that right, millions for a nickel. The reason? It was graded as MS-70 by professional coin graders. MS-70 is the highest grade a coin can get, basically meaning it looks like it was minted yesterday and has zero imperfections. Think of it like the supermodel of nickels, completely flawless and worth every penny. Or, should I say, every million pennies. Now, I know what you're thinking. Okay, but what are the chances I have one of these sitting in my change jar? Honestly? Slim. But not impossible. And even if you don't have a $4.5 million jackpot, a well-preserved 1985 P Jefferson nickel can still fetch a pretty penny, anywhere from $50 to $500, depending on the condition. That's not bad for something you might find under your couch cushions. Speaking of couch cushions, let me tell you a quick story. A few months ago, I was helping my grandma clean out her old junk drawer. You know the one, filled with expired coupons, rubber bands, and random keys. Anyway, we stumbled upon this small tin box full of coins. Most of them were regular pocket change, but there was this one nickel that looked different. It was shinier, heavier, and had a certain "I might be worth something" vibe. Turns out, it wasn't the $1 million 1985 P Jefferson nickel, but it was a rare wartime nickel from the 1940s that ended up selling for $200. Not bad for an afternoon of decluttering, right? So, what's the moral of the story? Always check your coins. That little piece of metal jingling in your pocket might just be a hidden treasure. And if you're serious about finding valuable coins, there are a few strategies you should know. First, invest in a good magnifying glass. Trust me, your eyes will thank you. Second, learn how to identify key features like mint marks and die varieties. And finally, don't be afraid to get your coins professionally graded. Sure, it costs a bit up front, but it's worth it if you're sitting on a potential goldmine. Did you know there might be a little fortune hiding in your loose change? Today, we're diving into a fascinating story about a tiny coin with a massive price tag. That's right, we're talking about the 1992 D Jefferson nickel, a coin worth an astonishing $4 million. So, if you've been ignoring nickels because, let's face it, they're not as shiny as quarters, think again. This might just be the video that turns you into a millionaire, or at least gets you looking at your spare change a lot closer. Okay, let's talk about the 1992 D Jefferson nickel and why it's worth more than your car, your house, or, let's be honest, most of our life savings. First things first, it's all about rarity. Coins get their value from how rare they are and their condition. This little nickel from the Denver Mint was produced in a year when a specific, super rare minting error occurred. It's so rare that only a handful of these coins are believed to exist. And when collectors hear the word rare, they start throwing money around like it's Monopoly cash. Now, the million-dollar question: how do you know if you've got one of these bad boys in your collection? Here's the scoop. You'll need to look closely, really closely. If you've got a 1992 Jefferson nickel with a D mint mark under the date, congratulations, you've made it to the first round. But here's the catch: the error that makes this coin so valuable has to do with the steps on the Monticello building on the reverse side. The rare version shows full steps. That's numismatics lingo for a perfectly struck coin where the steps are sharp and well-defined. Without this detail, your nickel is just, well, a nickel. Here's a fun little story. I remember a few years ago, my aunt was cleaning out her junk drawer and handed me a jar of old coins she'd been saving for decades. At the time, I thought, great, more coins to sort through, but I found some cool ones in there. Unfortunately, no million-dollar nickels. But it made me realize how many hidden treasures are just sitting in our homes, forgotten. Now, every time I get change back from a store, I'm that person standing in the parking lot squinting at coins. It's embarrassing, but you know what? It's worth it. Now back to the 1992 D nickel. If you've got one in good condition with those sharp steps, you're sitting on a goldmine. In 2024, one of these coins sold for, drumroll please, $4 million at an auction. $4 million. That's not just life-changing money, that's retire on a private island money. It's also why collectors are scrambling to get their hands on one. But don't just start throwing nickels on eBay and hoping for the best. You've got to verify what you've got. Take it to a trusted coin dealer or send it to a grading service like PCGS or NGC. They'll authenticate your coin and give it a grade, which directly affects its value. Even if it's not the $4 million jackpot, high-grade 1992 nickels can still fetch hundreds or thousands of dollars. Not bad for a coin you might have used to buy a pack of gum.so. There you have it, folks. The humble nickel that could change your life. Go ahead, dig through your drawers, check your piggy banks, and maybe even ask Grandma if she's got any old change lying around. You never know, the next millionaire collector could be you. But what if I told you this seemingly boring coin could actually be worth $3.4 million? Yep, you heard that right. $3.4 million. Hi there, and welcome to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into the world of the 1998 D Jefferson nickel. Why is this little coin causing such a big commotion? Stick around and I'll explain everything, including how you can spot one and why it's so valuable. Oh, and I'll even share a story about a time I thought I struck gold, or rather, nickel. First things first, let's talk about why the 1998 D Jefferson nickel is such a big deal. Most nickels from that year? Totally ordinary. Worth 5 cents, maybe a little more if you're selling a roll to a collector. But this particular coin? It's like finding a golden ticket in a candy bar. The key here is a rare error that happened during minting. Some of these nickels were struck with an experimental planchet, basically, a test material. The result? A unique finish and weight that make it a collector's dream. Now, you're probably wondering, how do I know if I have one of these magical nickels? Great question. Here are a few things to look for. Check the mint mark. It should have a D under Monticello, that's the Denver Mint. The surface might look different, shinier, or even have a silvery tone. And here's the kicker, if you have a scale, weigh it. These special nickels might come in a bit lighter or heavier than your average 5-gram nickel. Now, let me tell you about a time I thought I had one of these gems. I was at a yard sale, rummaging through a jar of old coins. Found a 1998 nickel, saw the D, and my heart skipped a beat. I was already planning my tropical getaway. But when I took it to an expert, turns out it was just a regular nickel with a shiny spot from too much pocket wear. Lesson learned, always do your research. And hey, at least I got a good laugh and a story out of it. Back to the big question, why is this coin worth $3.4 million? It all comes down to rarity and demand. Collectors will pay top dollar for unique coins, especially those tied to minting errors or experimental processes. Think of it like this, a collector's obsession is kind of like my obsession with finding the perfect taco. You'll go to great lengths and spend a ridiculous amount of money for the best of the best. That's why, when one of these nickels hits the market, it's a feeding frenzy. Now, if you think you've got one of these nickels, don't go running to your local pawn shop just yet. You'll want to have it authenticated by a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. These folks will verify the coin's authenticity and condition, which can dramatically affect its value. A well-preserved coin. That's the jackpot. One that's been chewed on by your dog. Not so much. Before we wrap up, let's talk strategy. If you're serious about hunting valuable coins, here are a couple of tips. Always check your change. You'd be amazed at the treasures people overlook. Hit up yard sales, thrift shops, and estate sales. They're gold mines for old coins. Educate yourself. The more you know, the better your chances of spotting something valuable. Alright, that's it for today's dive into the fascinating world of the 1998 D Jefferson nickel. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to smash that like button and share it with your friends. Who knows? Maybe one of them is sitting on a fortune and doesn't even know it. But not just any nickel, this one could be worth a jaw-dropping $3.2 million. That's right, folks. Today, we're diving into the fascinating story of the 1999 D Jefferson nickel. Could this tiny piece of change your life? Let's find out. Alright, so here's the deal with the 1999 D Jefferson nickel. On the surface, it looks like just another everyday coin you'd toss into a vending machine. But hold up, this little beauty has something special going for it. First off, it's from the Denver Mint, hence the D mark. That's already a clue that we're dealing with something potentially rare because the Denver Mint produced fewer coins than other mints that year. Now, why is it worth $3.2 million? It all comes down to its incredible rarity and pristine condition. Collectors go bananas over coins that are rare and in mint condition. And when we say mint condition, we're talking about coins graded MS 68 or higher. To give you some perspective, that's like finding a classic car that's never been driven off the lot. It's nearly perfect. Oh, and here's the kicker, most people wouldn't even know they had one of these gems. I mean, how many of us actually stop and inspect our loose change? I certainly didn't until one day when I accidentally dropped a handful of coins in my car. I found a nickel that looked off. The details were sharper than usual. Turns out, it wasn't a 1999 D, but that little discovery kicked off my passion for coin collecting. Who knew a spilled cup of coffee could lead to a treasure hunt? So, what should you look for if you're hoping to score a 1999 D Jefferson nickel? Start by flipping that coin over and checking the details. Look for sharp strikes, clear letters, and no visible wear. If it's been chilling in your piggy bank for decades, you'll probably need a magnifying glass to spot any subtle details. Bonus tip, if you find one, get it graded by a professional. That's the only way to confirm if you've got $1 million coin or just a really shiny nickel. Now, let's talk about the market. Coins like the 1999 D Jefferson nickel aren't just about their face value. They're investments. Think of it like finding a rare trading card or a first edition book. The $3.2 million valuation isn't just hype, it's a reflection of what a dedicated collector is willing to pay. And trust me, collectors love to one-up each other. It's all about bragging rights. So there you have it. That humble nickel in your pocket could be a secret jackpot waiting to be discovered. Next time you're counting your change, take a closer look. You never know when you might strike it rich. We're diving into the fascinating story of the 2000 P Jefferson nickel, a coin that's got collectors losing their minds and checking their pocket change like never before. So, grab your nickels, sit back, and let's find out if you're sitting on a fortune. The 2000 P Jefferson nickel isn't just any ordinary coin. At first glance, it might look like your average, run-of-the-mill nickel, the kind you toss into a vending machine for a Snickers. But what makes this coin special is a very rare minting error. Back in 2000, at the Philadelphia Mint, a few of these nickels were struck on experimental planchets. That's just a fancy way of saying the metal used wasn't the usual nickel-copper mix. Instead, these planchets were likely made from a blend used for foreign coins, making these nickels incredibly unique. Now, here's where it gets wild. One of these error coins recently sold at auction for $3 million. That's right, a single nickel, the kind you might find between your couch cushions, is now worth more than most houses. The coin was in pristine condition, graded MS 68, which is basically the coin world's version of a supermodel. No scratches, no dents, just pure, shiny perfection. But don't worry, you don't need a perfect coin to cash in. Even lower grade versions of this error nickel can still fetch a pretty penny, pun intended. Collectors are always on the hunt for these rarities, and the demand keeps driving up the value. Here's a quick story for you. Last year, I was helping my uncle clean out his garage. He's one of those guys who never throws anything away, you know the type. We found an old coffee can filled with nickels, dimes, and pennies. He was about to toss it, but I convinced him to let me take a closer look. And guess what? No, I didn't find a $3 million coin, but I did find a 1939 D Jefferson nickel worth about $100. Not bad for a day's work, right? It just goes to show, you never know what treasures are hiding in plain sight. So, how can you tell if you've got a 2000 P era nickel? First, check the year and mint mark. The P will be on the right side of Thomas Jefferson's portrait. Next, look closely at the metal. These era coins have a slightly different color and finish compared to regular nickels. If you think you found one, it's worth getting it professionally graded and appraised. Who knows? You might just hit the jackpot. Alright, folks, that's the scoop on the 2000 P Jefferson nickel. Who knew a little 5-cent coin could turn into a multi-million-dollar payday? If this doesn't inspire you to start checking your change, I don't know what will. Remember, every coin has a story, and sometimes, that story is worth more than you can imagine. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that subscribe button and join our community of coin lovers. I'll be sharing more tips, tricks, and stories about coins that could make you rich, and trust me, you don't want to miss out. And hey, if you've got a cool coin story of your own, drop it in the comments below. Who knows? Maybe you'll inspire the next episode. Thanks for watching, and happy hunting.